Rachel Reeves.
This is just yet another smack in the face. She could cut the welfare bill. Now it's more than the income tax take of this country, the entire income tax take. That is shocking. That is just, we can't continue.
Aussies are signing a petition to make Meghan and Harry pay for their own security.
So why should the taxpayers of Australia pay for their visit and pay for their security? So don't tell me that they're paying for that. You're going for your own commercial and financial gain. Pay for it yourself. His worth is nothing, and Meghan's worth is less than nothing. You cannot have a trans girl, a boy, in a tent with a whole load of 13-year-old guys. It's fraught with problems. Who is organising this? Can this country actually build anything anymore? We are a laughing stock on the global stage. Make Britain great again? Well, it's not going to happen under this Labour government, is it?
Hello and welcome to today's Daily Expresso. I'm JJ and this is Yobi, but more importantly, this is Carole Malone.
I'm glad you got that right. More importantly, this is Carole Malone, yes.
And I'm going to do something I've never done, Carole.
What?
Pay you a compliment.
Are you? What about now?
I like the jumper.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's bottle green.
fashionable.
I'm never sure about bottle green. I always think it looks a bit old-fashioned.
Well, let us know in the comments. Do you think Carole's bottle green jumper looks terrible?
Yes, let me know. When I look in there, let me know, because I'm not sure about it.
I like it. I like
Well,
it. I like
good.
the shoulder detail as well.
I like the shoulder detail, but I'm not sure about the colour. It's just what I used to see older women wearing in my little mining village when I was a child, and I didn't like it on them. But anyway, hopefully it'll go down well.
I think it's going to go down very well.
Good.
Unlike Rachel Reeves.
Yes. Oh, nice segue there.
Thank you very much. She is making middle-class families pay.
Yeah, what she's basically saying is that people are saying, are we going to get help from the government when this fuel crisis really starts to bite, the oil crisis? And the answer is, well, yes, you are, if you've got no job and you're languishing on benefits. But no, if you're a hard-working person, which she says, she calls us middle class, not necessarily so.
Yeah.
But we'll get no help at all. So this is just yet another smack in the face. You know, she seems to imagine that the middle classes are rich. They're not rich. These are people who are struggling. They've got mortgages to pay. They've got kids. They've got all sorts of expenses, just like everyone else has. And the fuel prices are going to hit them just as hard. Yeah. Some arguably you might say harder. But yet the people who don't work, again, get looked after. And the people who do work are being told they have to pay for the people who don't work. And you know, the people who are low, it's not all people who don't work. That's not fair. There are some low-income families, obviously, who do work, who deserve help.
Yeah.
But you know, they already get help. They already get, I think, it's about 150 quid off their fuel bills with the Warm Home Discount Scheme.
Yes.
But the thing is, the middle classes are paying for that as well. So we're also already subsidising one scheme. So we're going to have to now be subsidising more help for them. And it's just not fair. You know, you have to have equality in a country. And I think that the people who do work in this country feel that they're sidelined in favour of those who don't. And there are so many things that she could do, JJ, to actually bring down the cost. She could scrap the tax on energy bills for a start, or at least reduce it.
Yep.
She could take this. She could keep the freeze on fuel duty. And I don't know whether I mentioned this last week, but you know, the government gets 38% of the money from every litre of petrol.
Yeah.
And that's going to be
VAT.
more right now. You know, that's going to... They don't need to have that much. They could actually just slacken that off a bit for the time of this crisis. You know, she could cut the welfare bill, which shocked me today. It's more than the income tax take of this country. The entire income tax take. That is shocking. Yeah. So she could do all of those things. She could actually freeze public sector pay rises. She could freeze public sector recruitment, because both of those things have rocketed under Labour, whereas in the private sector, unemployment is now at 5.3%. Yeah. So there are so many things that she could do, but no, let's just squeeze the middle classes a little bit tighter.
Yeah, I got my energy bills due this week, and the electricity is 3 times what it was now. Yeah. And my gas bills have also gone up by a couple hundred quid.
And it matters.
It matters
to all of us. We're all on budgets. None of us are millionaires. You know, it's this idea that because you have a job and because you're paying a mortgage on a house, you're rich. No, you're not. Yeah. Because a lot of the people who are getting help they don't have their own houses. They're living in council accommodation. And so they're not paying mortgages. We are. Yeah. And it's this assumption that we will just bear the burden. And It really isn't fair. And they're stupid because, no middle-class person is ever going to vote for them again. No elderly person is going to vote for them again. No business person is going to vote for them again. They're idiots. The only people that are going to vote for them are the unemployed. And although there's a lot of them, there's not enough of them to get them elected.
Well, this is what my next question was going to be, Carole. Why do Labour hate... Keir Starmer calls them the working people. He calls us working people, I suppose. But why do they hate us so much?
The whole point of the Labour Party is supposed to be to support working people and working class people. And it supports neither, currently. What it does is support people who don't work. That's who it supports. And that is just, we can't continue on that basis because people like us, you want to go somewhere else. A lot of businesses have fled to Dubai because it's tax-free and they can keep their money there. That's going to keep on happening. And so the only people left will be working to so-called middle-class people, and we don't earn enough to pay the bills that she's incurring.
Right, let's move on to Meghan Markle. Yeah. So she's facing backlash in Australia. Aussies are signing a petition to make Meghan and Harry pay for their own security down under and any other kind of fees that come with hosting them as well. Fair enough.
That's absolutely right. Why should the Australians pay out of their taxes for these two to stay somewhere luxurious, to have armed guards everywhere, whatever? Not on. What they're coming for is a commercial venture.
Yeah.
It's a venture that Markle is going to... They've got business stuff going on there, meetings. They've also got this thing where Meghan is going to go to this spa retreat and people are going to have to pay 1,400 quid to see her. I mean, you'd have to pay me 1,400 quid to go see her. But anyway, that is a ticket take alone of nearly £500,000 quid. So why should the taxpayers of Australia pay for their visit and pay for their security? Now, Harry and Meghan's people are saying that it's a privately funded trip. I don't believe that for a nanosecond. Not for a nanosecond. They won't be paying to stay where it is they're staying. The last time they went, it was in 2018, I think, when they were still working royals.
Yeah.
And they stayed in the Governor General's residence back then, and all the security, they had guards with them at all times. They're going to want that again. So don't tell me that they're paying for that, because that'll wipe out their £500,000 quid they're going to make off the tickets in a heartbeat. So, if you are going representing the Queen or the royal family, maybe Australian taxpayers should contribute something. But when you're going for your own commercial and financial gain, pay for it yourself. The good thing is, though, it's interesting that the spa thing she's going to do this talk in, it's not even finished yet. The pool's not built yet. And apparently on the beach outside, there are these things called poop balls that are all over the beach. And it isn't just poop, it's oil, it's human hair, it's fat. And these are just popping. I think it's good. I think it'll be good. That'll teach them.
But for Meghan Markle and Harry, they're getting a lot of flack for this trip. But essentially, they're just making money, right? Just like the rest of us, they're just, grafting.
Yes, they're grafting, but don't expect Australian taxpayers to foot the bill for you coming to make money. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. If they were coming... Well, I can't think of a reason that they would come unless they were working roles where taxpayers would be expected to pay.
Yeah.
This is for them to line their own pockets. And the fact that they're doing this trip tells me how skint they actually are. Because why would you fly across the world to make £500,000 quid? I mean, they could 2 years ago they could make that in a month.
Yeah.
They can't do that now. Tom Bower's new book is actually saying that they're really struggling for cash.
That's explosive.
And it's why they want to come back to Britain. That's why Harry's making such a big play of coming back, because unless he is photographed with the royal family and at royal events, his worth is nothing, and Meghan's worth is less than nothing. So that's why they're trying to reconnect with the royal family.
Have you heard that they've got a show now with Netflix? It's going to be like a Jilly Cooper style TV show, but based around polo.
Well, do you remember the last polo show that Harry did?
Well, that was a reality. Yeah, that was like a look behind the scenes.
The
of the world of
ratings
polo.
were in the toilet for that one, so I can't imagine why this one is going to be any different.
It's going to be full of sex and naughtiness.
What do you mean? Is it a drama or is it? I don't even know.
Yeah, like Jilly Cooper.
Yes,
and it's that kind of thing.
But why? How are they going to be in that?
Well, they're just producing it.
Oh, they're producing it.
They're producing it. Yeah, they are executive producers.
Well, that's going to fail. because they're not very good at producing anything. And if Netflix, why would Netflix copy Jilly Cooper's Polo Riders? Why would she? They copy
Quick book.
It's. I thought Netflix were finished with them. I read stories recently that said they'd had enough of them.
They said they're not going to do anything more with her as ever brand, but they still have that first look deal. So any ideas that Matt, Harry, and Meghan have, go to Netflix. Oh, we've got this idea. It's about polo, a bit like Jilly Cooper.
Oh, been done before. Let's do it
Netflix
again.
Like, we'll take it. Here's $10 million.
Let's wait and see if that ever hits the screens. Let's see.
Well, on a more serious note now, let's talk about the Girl Guides. So I used to go to the Girl Guides.
Did you?
Yes, when I was like 4 years old. My mum would take my sisters there, and my mum was one of the volunteers, and I had to sit in the corner watching the girls play around and do their arts and crafts or whatever for 2 hours.
Did you like doing that?
I found it incredibly boring.
Yes,
I hated being there. I'd often fall asleep.
Boys don't like girls much at that age.
No, exactly.
This is an interesting take. So the Girl Guiding Association, they have made the decision, and they say quite sadly, to not have any transgender girls in their ranks, and that any transgender girls that are in their ranks must leave by September. Now, a lot of trans activists are kicking up a stink about this, and there's a little cabal within the Guiding Association, which has named itself Guiders Against Trans Exclusion, which has the heavy print to me of trans activism. But anyway, there you go. They're saying how terrible and unfair this is. Well, I think the clue's in the name, Girl Guides. So a trans girl guide is actually a boy. Mm-hmm. Now, it just can't happen. And what the Guiding Association is doing, I think, is terribly responsible in the sense that they are following the Supreme Court's ruling in 2025 that sex means biological sex. Mm-hmm. So for them, it's a safety precaution, and it's also a practical precaution because we know the guides go away on trips and stuff. Yeah. They're intense. You cannot have a trans girl, a boy, in a tent with a whole load of 13-year-old guides. It might be all right at the younger end, at the brownie end, but I think when you get into the teen area, it is fraught with problems. Yeah. And I think they just don't want any of these problems. And this ruling, the Supreme Court ruling, it followed years of women in this country fighting for safe spaces for women and girls. And we have to preserve that. And I'm sorry if it upsets some of the trans girls in the guide ranks. But you know what? I'd really like to know how many trans girls this affects, because there is no data to say how many trans girls are in the Guiding Association. I don't think there will be very many. I really don't. I think a tougher gig for the Guiding Association is the fact that trans women volunteers also have to leave. There might be more of them, but I really don't believe that the Girl Guide ranks are full of trans girls. I don't believe it.
Well, here's my take on it. It's simple. There's beavers, there's cubs, and there's scouts. Mm-hmm. Boys and girls can go for that.
Yes.
It's a very similar thing.
Yes.
Outdoor adventure, leadership, skills, all of that. It's very similar. So if you're a trans girl and you want to be in that activity, then go and join the Beavers and the
think
Scouts.
It's true, and we've got to stop worrying who's going to be offended by this and who's going to be offended by that. As you rightly say, there are lots of organisations, and what you can't do is change one organisation for a handful of people, no matter how much you might want to, because that's not fair on everyone else. Yeah. And it also... It's problematic. It needs more staff. It needs more money. Mm-hmm. You're going to have separate changing areas for trans girl guides, separate sleeping areas for trans girls. You're going to have people watching them to make sure they're okay. Yeah. Imagine if there was one trans girl in a troop and they go on a camping trip. What, is that trans girl going to be put in a tent?
All by themselves.
All by themselves? Mm. It's scary.
Yeah.
What about showers? What about changing? Mm-hmm. So I just think it's fraught with problems, and I think if this was really a problem, we would have data on how many trans girls were in the guides ranks, and there isn't any data at all. Mm-hmm. So if it was a problem, I think we'd actually know about it.
All right. Let's move on to the HS2. This $1 billion line is just fraught with error after error after error. Now, to be fair, they started under the Tory government.
Yes.
And Labour have continued the calamity.
Yeah, but you've missed the top line here. What they've said is on H2 trains, not unusual for you to miss the top line, but anyway, what they've said on H2 trains is they're going to make them go slower to save money. Now, again, the clue is in the title, HS, high-speed trains. So they spend all this money building high-speed tracks to put trains on them that are slower. Mm-hmm. So originally when this plan when it was first mooted and passed, the projection for the cost was 37.5 billion. Mm-hmm. Now it's well over 100 billion, and it's not going to be finished until 2033. So you could add another 50 billion on top of that. Yeah. And what this means is, I mean, this is like, it's like a scene from Yes Minister, isn't it? It's like, oh, yes, Minister, let's build a high-speed train track. And let's put slow trains on it. And let's charge the idiot taxpayers 100 billion quid for doing it. I mean, you literally couldn't make it up. Yeah. So, and these slower trains, they can't necessarily go on these tracks. Mm-hmm. And what they've said, this is the other thing, they've also said they're going to have to spend billions on a test track. Mm-hmm. Maybe not even here, maybe in China.
Yes.
To test the high-speed trains, because they can't test them on the tracks here.
Yeah.
I mean, who was organising this? Can this country actually build anything anymore? And I think the answer to that is no. We are a laughing stock on the global stage. Mm-hmm. If this was Japan or China, they'd have had it built in a year and a half.
Absolutely.
And it would have been done with now.
Yeah.
Boom. Finished. And yet here we are. And they're still, they know even now it's not going to be finished by 2033.
Yeah.
I mean, it's idiotic. So what we're going to have now is trains going at the same speed as they did before. And the whole point of this, I mean, I remember Boris saying when he was announcing this that we would have the fastest train service in Europe. Well, no, we're going to have the slowest and the most expensive. And we're not going to have it for a very long time.
And they're only doing it on the part of the line between London and Birmingham.
Yes.
Where our trains actually go pretty quick already.
Pretty good, yeah.
It's 1 hour, 15 minutes.
So to spend billions to save 15 minutes or 20 minutes. It's just, what they should have done was concentrated on capacity from the very start and made it about capacity, not about knocking 15 minutes on a journey. Yeah. Because that's not going to change the world for any businessman to get to Manchester 15 minutes sooner. It's just not.
Yeah.
So it should have been about capacity, but now it's about, I don't know what it's about anymore. And the other thing that really annoyed me when I read this, think of all the woodland and the habitats that have been destroyed for this. That it's never going to be what it was meant to be, and they've destroyed areas of woodland where trees hundreds of years old. They destroyed.
Oh, don't worry about all that, Carole.
I do worry about that.
Don't worry, because all those trees are going to be put on the back of £5 notes, so people still see those.
Well, how can they be put on the back of when they're not there? When they're not there anymore, they're chopped up in somebody's woodyard now. It's just, I just think we are not capable of doing anything in this country, and it shames me. You know, what put the great in Great Britain is just no longer there.
We should almost try and make Britain great again, Carole.
Make Britain great again? Well, it's not going to happen under this Labour government, is it?
Carole, it's been a whirlwind episode. But
that has been a whirlwind. Yeah, cutting my time actually. I think the nation might be glad.
We move faster than a HS2 train on this.
Well, that's not hard.
Well, thank you, Carole, and thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments below. See you next time. Bye-bye.